Just getting weather for the morning. We are way the heck in the middle of nowhere. 30 miles roughly, paddle back, way back into the Pacific Ocean, northeast side of Vancouver Island, in a place called the Burdwood Group. Kind of on our first multi-day expedition, which is really exciting and kind of scary, and this place has been stunningly beautiful. This is a logbook for, I took a sea kayak guiding course a month ago, and due diligence is doing morning weather, so I'm just trying to interpret it and scribble it down madly into some kind of shorthand and then figure out roughly what we can expect. We're really protected here, but our paddling is limited by wind, and that's really the main concern. This is the most remote I think I've ever been, maybe in Canada. In the bush you're on forestry roads and all that kind of stuff, but and there's, we're not that far from a town or whatever, or a road, but there's no highway, there's no pontoon planes here, there are no fishing boats here, there's no ferries or transport or nothing, which makes it one of the coolest places I've ever been in the world, actually. It's pristine.
Just changing out lures. We're going to angle for some rockfish. What I had on was sort of a trawling rig that I thought I'd test to do the deeper channels, looking for, it just sounds silly to say it because we have no luck, but specifically for salmon in the deep channels. But it's difficult because the speed of the kayak and currents and wind all affect everything. Because we're so far back away from civilization, we had a finite amount of food that we could carry in. And so we're really augmenting our protein, and no refrigeration, no coolers. We're practical kind of to carry in. So we're definitely augmenting our protein with rockfish. We're finding, like, if you find the right structure, like off cliffs or in rocky outcrops or in little leeward side of islands when the current is going a particular direction, there are just rockfish just off the shores of every rocky outcrop on these islands. I mean, when we arrived, it was jaw-dropping, breathtaking kind of beauty. It's something that I've never seen other than maybe in books, but you've got the mist, just the clouds coming down and touching the cedar forest, and you've got the smell and humidity in the air. Then the marine life and the colors. You got clams gleeking water up on low tide, and you have this like azure water that piles in at high tide. It's just amazing. There's sort of this clamshell beach on every little island from indigenous people setting up shop here to eat clams. And you just think of the feasts and the thousands of years that human beings would have had to have been here on these islands to create these clamshell beaches. It's just an ancient place, and it's got a real pull and a real effect, I think, deep down on a person.
Mention how much I love this stuff. Man, these boats. Just fishing the edge of bull kelp beds. My thumb is raw from letting my line down. We've done it so much. We've been dropping and bottom fishing so much. But there's little kelp situations around these rock faces, so we're just basically finding some structure and then finding some structure or kelp bed. Oh, Tyler's got a fish on. Yeah? Flounder? That's the first one of the trip, man.
First one of the trip.
Flounder's delicious. As I was mentioning, they're the species I learned to catch when I was crabbing because they like the same kind of sandy bottom stuff.
Yeah.
So if he's down there,
I mean, it's an indicator that there's some other stuff going on there.
yeah, it makes me hopeful for our crab trap drop.
To bleed him as you've taught us. "20 meters from camp."
I know, man. Like, why go anywhere to fish? Fish on. Oh, I got a lunch, dude. I'm keeping him. That's my lunch. So that's what's keeping us fed. It's like a big yellow perch. And we're camp's right there, the shore's right there. And now I get to eat today. And that's kind of how it's been going because we didn't bring meat. There's no bag full of jerky back in camp. There's no anything for protein. It really is, we eat fish or we don't eat any substantial meals. So I've caught a way bigger one that's probably 4 times this size a couple days ago. So they do come in a bigger format, but I look at that and decide, is that enough food for me for today? And if the answer is yes, then I will keep it. Fish on, Jeff's got a fish on. That's 5 fish in about 15 minutes. And again, like, not trophy stuff, but whatever. Like, it's food fish, and if we caught too much fish, we got nowhere to put it. There's no refrigeration here, there's no ice. So we either just, catch and eat, and then don't fish anymore, or look for other species, I guess, is kind of the thing. But if we have more than we can eat, then it's just not helpful. That's a nice fish. It's bigger than the one I kept, buddy.
Well, it's not what size. It's motion in the ocean. But I was using, I was thinking about the leeward side of the current and stuff.
And what did you assess? What was your call? You know the difference between field dressing a big black bear boar and a white-tailed deer?
Yeah.
That's that last fish versus this fish. This is narrowleaf arrowgrass. I was filming with a friend, Fiona, who's co-written some foraging books out on the west coast here. And she introduced me to this one. The reason it's a stunner It tastes really distinctly like coriander, like fresh coriander. All of this. Can you imagine that? Fresh coriander on the ocean. I love chimichurris. And I've wanted to make them for a while out here, but you're using a bunch of ingredients that don't work or don't fit, like lime and cilantro and that kind of thing. Well, we went for a walk yesterday, found a little bit of sea asparagus, not a lot, some goose tongue or maritime plantain, some fruit that Jeff and Tyler are after up there on the top of this little island. And so we're gonna pick a bunch of this. As usual, had plans coming in for what I wanted to make, and those plans have been just ditched because we've learned that there's plants, seaweed, fish, and I'm going to use these grasses to make like a crunchy chimney for a rockfish dish with wild onion, black butter, and some sea lettuce, I think, on it. So anyway, first time for me picking this. I've tasted it. Maybe worth noting that didn't see lots of things that were here until we kind of took some time to stop and go for a walk and kind of think about, well, what's that? What's that plant? What's that plant? I mean, camp's right there. My kayak's right back there. We're catching fish, like right here. So we're right in camp, essentially, with all the food that we need to put up a plate for tonight. We're really excited. Onion. Another kind of win, a familiar one, mind you, very familiar to me, is nodding onion. It's actually just finishing blooming right now, just setting seed. And I know it's hard to tell, but all of this stuff, all this green growth, is Allium cernum, nodding onion. It's what I've been using in my garden for years. My genetics from my garden actually are from an island like this in the Pacific Northwest. They're native species to Alberta as well. But to not use wild allium, to pull a shallot out of the kit is a tad disingenuous when we have the allium growing right next to the narrowleaf arrowgrass, and then this beautiful fruit right here, which is outstanding. So people ask, I don't pick the whole plant, even though at home I have probably 200, 300 bulb specimens, so there's no shortage of it. I still tend to just pick the grass from it. We'll do the same here. One of the superpowers of this plant is that you can char the living crap out of it, meaning it can be almost burnt in the pan, and it doesn't taste burnt, it just adds layers of allium complexity, like roasting an onion might do. So happy it's here. And again, another plant that really, until we walked around for a good long while, until day 2 even, or day 3, we hadn't found it, and here it is. Nodding onion.
Trying to forage a crab that we saw from shore at low tide here. He was a good one. He was a trophy buck, but it's different to have your feet in where the crabs are, walking on jagged barnacles.
Just some cycling around the Okanagan. A friend of mine was talking about a bloom of the golden currant, so we've been keeping an eye on it and looking at that pattern. And that happened, and there were some other currant blooms in the Okanagan, but a lot of them didn't taste that great. And then we came out here and found this one and tasted these berries. My first thought that it tasted like a wine or a wine tasting note, and hoping that Jeff can turn this into a magnificent dessert. With flavor, it's always degrees of complexity, And first off, they have a really nice acid pop to them, and they have texture. When you bite the skin, that creates additional flavor. And then from underripe to overripe to small berry to large berry to, like, that one's like a little bit red. It just seems like there's a wide array of just different flavors here. And it reminds me of a tasting note for something like a Sauvignon Blanc, where it can be grassy, it can be the citrus notes. I think there's a note, something like gooseberry, and that really struck me in this one. You'd think, well, how would this taste like a white wine from the Okanagan? But there definitely are similarities there, and I don't know why this particular bush or fruit has it, but it has it. And you got your legume going right in the middle of it too.
They're so good. It took a day or two to come down just from the scenery and just being here. And then when we had some sort of reflective time off the water, we thought about ingredients and, like, we're gonna do some cooking, and what could we find on this island? And, like, at face value, it's like there's nothing here, and or it's a foreign environment. We can't recognize anything. And then Kevin and I went for a little walk, and I tasted some cedar, and completely different from spruce and pine and fir at home. And then we found some grasses, and then we found some herbs, and then we found this fruit. Just on a short 10-minute walk. It speaks to the importance of, like, slowing down and, really studying the ground, looking what plants are here, and just sort of opening your mind up to the fact that there's a bounty. There's a bounty in every environment. You just have to be open-minded and sort of aware in order to find it. And then, like, this is like a treat beyond treats. To have such sweet berries. And, like, we could pick until we're tired of picking. And we could pick breakfast every morning also.
Just because you could.
Oh my god.
Cup run us over.
Gonna go try and jig up a fish. Oh, fish. Got one. That is a quillback rockfish. I'll put him in here.
just went and pulled the crab trap. It was just sitting in the ocean with our fish remains. We got ourselves some crabs for lunch. It's just limitless. It's a food harvesting trip. A camping trip where you just go out and harvest whatever food you feel like that day. It's a grocery store. It's crazy. He's not too keen on coming out. Oh, it's coming at ya. Check the measure.
There you go. He is huge.
Yeah, he's way bigger than 115. He's more like Washington. He's 5 3/4 wide. And then must be male. That's right again.
Yep. Male.
Legal. I don't know what to say. It's just a crazy, crazy place. So foreign to what we're used to. And so amazing. Like this fresh wild food. It's kind of a fresh wild food utopia. And I can totally understand why this was such a special place to thousands of years of indigenous folk. Just smashing the clams here. But I mean, with technology and our fishing gear, we can kind of just produce food like a seafood market.
What? What an experience. Oh, Jesus. They're coming right towards us. Unbelievable experience. Definitely the coolest orca experience of my life. I've had a few, and this one's pretty special.
We're in boats smaller than the orcas, but quite a bit.
There they are.
Well, I can die now.
Yeah, I think that was once in a lifetime. Go to the water for a swim. And who do you run into? Pot of orcas. Right where we went to at our very first fishing hole, in fact.
Yeah.
Like Tyler says, another 5 to just like calm your tits.
Just got sunny. Just started to get cleaned up. It is some beautiful when the sun comes out here. Needed a bath, needed a laundry. Great day and kind of a morale boost to be clean and weather to be nice. Fairly straightforward dish. I'm making the chimney out of the wild onion, narrow-leaf arrowgrass. I've got jalapeno and lime on an island in the middle of nowhere, and not using it in a chimney and letting them go bad just to be austere about the plan would be kind of dumb. And then just a sea lettuce kind of salad side with a vinaigrette. So that's dinner here. Just got my little Nalgene collection, as one does. A little salt and a little bit of vegetable oil. Probably not that necessary, but just to balance some of the acid of the lime. Wow. Butter. There's the chimney.
First.
Yeah.
Some crabs on there. Holy. Wow. There's the richness and depth of the butter, like it's all dark, and then it's so good, it's so flavorful. Way to go on texture too. Like, I was just gonna keep eating. Tyler had these clear glass jars in his kit, so I'm just gonna make us a parfait. We're just gonna jamatize these with a bunch of sugar. That's my morning breakfast with instant oats in it. Sweetened condensed milk and sort of a berry chutney.